בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. Welcome to the Zoomers, and of course, for those who are here with us on the Zoom. It's fair to say that 2020 is one of the best years to commemorate Tisha Be'av. With all the downsides that we had this year, it is a perfect shidduch and not too hard to connect to this terrible day. And I say terrible day because this is really the way it sounds. Chachamim tell us there is no mazal on Tisha Be'av, there is no beracha when we go to work on Tisha Be'av, and it's just simply a sad day. And it's true. It's true because really, really bad things happened. I want to remind you a little bit why most of us believe that Tisha Be'av is almost a cursed day. In the very beginning, the roots of all, in the year 2448, and Am Israel was ready to go to Eretz Israel. We all know the famous sin of the Meragelim, the spies. The reason why we got held up in the desert for 40 years. That was the first very bad event on Tisha Be'av. Vayivku ha'am balayla hahu. I'm jumping all the way now to year 33 to 38. 33-38 was not a good year because on that day, on Tisha Be'av, we lost the first Bet HaMikdash. This was the destruction of the first temple. Jumping forward, year 38-28. The second temple, the second Bet HaMikdash, also destroyed and burned on the day of Tisha Be'av. Now let me give you some other dates. And I'm going to use the secular dates this time. Year 136. Year 136 was an attempt, a very strong attempt, to regain control on Eretz Israel. There was a very organized army by the general named Bar Kokhba. And Bar Kokhba, with the support and guidance of Rabbi Akiva, was able to put an army together to almost defeat the Romans. And unfortunately, for circumstances that are even sadder, because it was because of intra-conflict within us, within Jews, in the year 136, on the day of Tisha Be'av, Bar Kokhba was defeated. I'm going to jump to July 20th, 1095. You know what happened on that day? That was the beginning of the Crusades. The first crusade started on July 20th, 1095. Check it out. You know what was that day? Tisha Be'av. The Crusades lasted for 400 years. Hundreds of thousands of Jews were killed by those Rotzhim, Yimach Shemam. I'm moving forward. All accurate dates, July 18, 1290. Jews were suffering already for some years, for about 15 years in England. And King Edward I decided to send all the Jews out from England. You know what was July 18, 1095? Tisha Be'av again. They were expulsed from England until the year 1656. This is about 400 years. I'm moving forward. July 30th, 1492. We Sephardic Jews should never forget that date. Because on July 30th, 1492, the Jews from Spain were expelled. And that was again on the day of Tisha Be'av. Until the year, you know what year was it that Jews were actually okay to have synagogues and practice Judaism in Spain? You won't believe it. 1968. 1968. This is about 500 years almost 500 years. I'm moving forward. July 28, 1914. Do you know what July 28, 1914 is? The outbreak of World War I. But that is also Tisha Be'av. Let me move forward. I'm not finished. July 22nd, 1943. I checked all these dates with Wikipedia to make sure that it's accurate. July 22nd, 1943. This was the liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto. That was the beginning of the deportation of the Jews to Treblinka from the ghetto. Do you know what was July 22nd? Tisha Be'av again. So it seems that we are all right to feel that this is really, really a bad day. And it feels this way because we have all these restrictions. Restrictions that didn't start just today. They started already 3 weeks ago. We remember that we already stopped listening to music. We don't have weddings anymore. We don't say Hayoun on new stuff. We stopped then eating meat. We also stopped all kinds of activities of simcha. No haircut this week, no shower, no laundry. And today we are in the midst of everything. We sit on the floor. We don't say hello to each other. We don't go to work. And we are just waiting for this day to be over. Because it really feels that it's a bad day. But is that it? Is this feeling justified? Are we right to feel this way? Let me give you an information you won't believe. Did you realize that today we did not say Hayoun? We did not say Hayoun. We don't say Hayoun actually from yesterday by Mincha. Erev Tisha Be'av, we don't say Hayoun either. Why? So someone say, well, you don't have to say Hayoun because we feel so bad already. There is no need for Hayoun. But that's not true. That's not the reason. The reason is because we read in Echa, Kara alay moed. Tisha Be'av is considered a holiday. And just like in holidays, we don't say Hayoun, so too on Tisha Be'av. This doesn't make sense, right? You understand that Tisha Be'av, we don't say Hayoun because it's a holiday? No, of course not. This is a total contradiction to everything that I just said and the way that we feel. So how to explain exactly? So I want to ask you a question, a personal question. In your opinion, what do you think is the toughest part of Tisha Be'av? What makes Tisha Be'av such a difficult, harsh day? I don't think that it's all the restrictions. I think the toughest part of Tisha Be'av is the fact that we don't even know why we are sad, that we can't really connect to the sense, to the real sense and the vibe of Tisha Be'av to truly mourn. Were you able to shed a tear? Were you able to feel something? Were you able to cry for the loss of the Beit HaMikdash? Do you feel bad that we don't have the Beit HaMikdash? Do you truly, truly feel bad about it? And to be honest, most of us don't feel bad, or at least bad enough. And I can't blame you for that. You know why? Exactly, because you don't know how it was when we had the Beit HaMikdash, so you don't know what you lost. Lo alenu velo alechem, someone who was born with only one leg, and he never knew what it feels like to walk with two legs. He can't be sad about it because he doesn't know what he lost. But someone who lost a leg and is lo alenu velo alechem handicap, he can't walk normally, then yes, he feels bad, he feels sad, he feels terrible about it. So you know what? I said in the beginning that 2020 is the best year for Tisha Be'av. I think 2020 is the best year for Tisha Be'av exactly for that reason. Not because it's a bad year, not because we had so many challenges, because we realized in 2020, with the pandemic, the corona, and all these events around us, what normal used to be. Try to think with me for just a minute. You see how we sit apart in the Shiur? Do you remember how we could just we could sit next to each other without a problem? You remember that? Do you remember how it feels like not to wear a mask and not to be uncomfortable when you go to store, when you go to shul, when you go anywhere that is public? Remember that? Do you remember what it means to give a hug and to kiss each other when we see each other? Do you miss that? That was normal. That was the way we used to live a few months ago. Do you remember when you had hundreds of people in Brit Milah, Bar Mitzvah, weddings, or just a regular, normal funeral, lo alenu, without all the restrictions? Do you remember that? Do you remember what it means to eat in a restaurant? Inside, not outside. Chasing the bugs and the flies and the bees. I'm talking about inside, eating in a restaurant, nicely, comfortably. Do you remember the way that we used to congratulate our graduates in school? Did you see the graduation this year? How sad and almost pathetic they are? Coronavirus was able to show us that there used to be a normal, and right now we have a new normal, and we are not okay with the new normal. We feel bad. It bothers us. It's more than uncomfortable. We are just waiting for that era to be over. And in parallel, Rabotai, that's exactly the way we are supposed to feel on Tisha Be'av. Let me give you some other examples. Examples that unfortunately we accept, we are okay with because this is just the way life is. And no, it's not okay. Example number one. Do you have any relative who has b'shalom lo alenu passed away from cancer? Do you know someone like that? Do you know a long date couple that unfortunately got divorced after 25 years? Don't know what happened. It's a tragedy. It's very sad. So, especially for the kids. Do you also see around you this handsome child who unfortunately fell into drugs and addiction? Do you know anyone? Do you have any friends that went through a terrible car accident and became handicapped? Do you know any beautiful, successful girl that is still unable to find a shidur? She can't find her mate. Don't know why. Do you have a far cousin who unfortunately married a non-Jewish girl? Familiar with that? Do you have a neighbor who just lost his job and is completely bankrupt, unable to pay his bills even? And all that, we call them life. That's part of life. Today, on Tisha Be'av, we realize that this would not happen if we had the Beit HaMikdash. All that, the new normal of today is not normal. We don't accept it because we realize and we understand that the reason we have all that is because we don't have the Mashiach. It's because we don't have the Beit HaMikdash. So now, let your imagination fly. Let yourself dream about a world that can be different, where people don't have to be sick, where people can actually be happy, find their shidduch, raise their children. This is the world when Mashiach comes. This is what we lost by the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash. And this is why we should feel sad today. But there is a higher level of mourning. Because I gave you so many examples, but I didn't tell you the main part. The common denominator between all that. Do you know why you would find a shidduch so easily? You know why you wouldn't lose your job? You know why You wouldn't hear about a tragedy of someone dying from a disease or from a car accident. You know why all this would not happen? Not because people would just get automatically better, because we would have an intimate connection with Borei Olam. Do you know what the Beit HaMikdash is? The Beit HaMikdash is the master key to the chamber of God. Right now, we are chased out of the house. We are in the streets. We are the wondrous Jew who doesn't have a place to be, who didn't stop for 2,000 years to travel from one country to the other because he just cannot settle. And that happens very much today in America. How comfortable are we now? Well, guess what? This is not new. This is something that has been happening for many years, hundreds, thousands of years. Why? Because we are out of the house, because we were thrown out, because we don't have our Father, our Abba, Borei Olam, that is just watching on us. The Beit HaMikdash was his home, and when we needed something, we would just go home and say, Daddy, Abba, Father, I need something, help me. This is what we lost. This is why we mourn. This is what Tisha Be'av is all about. And the highest level of the mourning is just this specific point. The fact that I cannot connect with God. I feel I don't have a connection with Him. The fact that I cannot focus when I pray and I erase through the tefillah because I don't even know what I'm saying. The fact that I'm having such a hard time to sit down and learn Torah, to be kovea itim, to have a set time that nobody is touching every day, to learn Torah, to connect to Borei Olam, because this is what Torah is about at the end of the day. You're not just learning a book. You're learning Hashem's word, Hashem's most precious entity, being. The fact that it's so hard for me to do a mitzvah, to need a push all the time. The fact that I don't feel excitement sometimes. All that is a direct result of losing the Beit HaMikdash. All that is what we mourn truly on Tisha Be'av. You know, the Chafetz Chaim once had a granddaughter, and she came crying. She came crying to her grandfather. She said, we play the game with my friends, hide and seek, oldest game ever. We play the game with my friends, and I found such a good place to hide that they were looking for me, and they were looking for me, and they were looking for me, and they couldn't find me. So he asked her, so why are you crying? You won the game. It's great. And she said, no. They looked for me for 5-10 minutes, and after they gave up, they just decided to play another game. So they stopped looking for me. And I was just stuck in that closet, in my hiding place, by myself, without anybody that cared about me. That's why I'm crying. And the Chafetz Chaim told her, here, take a candy. I care about you. I love you. Go back and play with your friends. And after she left, the Chafetz Chaim sat at the table, and he held his head between his hands, and he started crying. And he said, now I know. Now I understand. I understand the real tzar of the Shekhinah. The real pain. The real pain is that we lost the Beit HaMikdash. And Hashem is hiding. And we are looking for Him. And we looked for Him. For how long? 10 years, 20 years, maybe 100 years, 200 years. But then we moved on. We moved on to a new normal, to the galut. And we call it, we try to manage, we try to have a good life, a normal life, a happy life. But we're not playing the game anymore. We're not looking for him anymore. God is hiding and he's waiting for us to find him. Today, Tisha Be'av is a holiday because hopefully someone will feel, God, I missed you. Someone will say, you know what? I am back in the game. I want to find you. I want to see you. I want to feel you. I want to feel our connection. Hadesh Yamenu Ki Mekedem. This is why Tisha Be'av could be the best day of the year. The moment that we realize my life is not good. And the reason why it's not good is because I miss God. I didn't think that there was another normal to this. I thought that this was just normal. This was just part of life. But it's not, Rabotai. We cannot be okay. The sadness that we have, the mourning that we perform, all these restrictions is to push us in one direction. Don't you miss Borei Olam? Don't you want him back to your life? Can't you see that things can actually get better? And if I make the right decision to actually play the game, to look for him again, then tomorrow is a brand new day. Tomorrow can be a better day for me, for us, for Am Israel, for the entire world. We can't miss Tisha Be'av. We can't wait until this day is over. No, every minute counts. Every kina counts. Every tear counts. Every word of chizuk of Torah counts. That's what we need. How interesting that we start the word of the Megillat Echa. Echa yashva badad. And again the word Echa. Echa yu am zahav. You know what Echa is also, Rabotai? Echa means how, right? But Echa is the same letters than Ayeka. You know what Ayeka means? Where are you? This is hide and seek, Rabotai. Tisha Be'av is. Are you playing the game? Are you asking the most important question? Where are you? Not just you, not just me. Where are you, Borei Olam? I need you. I want to find you again. Ayeka. All those tzarot, all the sorrows that we had, they always pointed out to the fact that we were cornered, we were stuck, and we had no other choice but to look for Borei Olam. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it was tragic. It was a catastrophe each time. Borei Olam had lo hamal, we say in the Psukim. There was no mercy. We didn't feel the mercy. But there was just a wake-up call to say, hey, you forgot about me. I read a beautiful story, and I'll conclude with this. A story that I try to verify because I don't like to just say story without actual verified names and checked events. This story is in a book called The Fall of Fortresses. The Fall of Fortresses was written by a Jew named Elmer Bendiner. He was a Jewish navigator in a B-17 during World War II. With his American unit, they were bombing the city of Kassel in Germany. It's in the middle of Germany, completely in the middle of Germany. And it was a very tough fight. A very tough fight because the Germans were equipped with anti-craft guns that were very strong and very accurate. And unfortunately, their aircraft got hit, was under fire, and they could feel it. What is the worst part in the plane that can get hit? The gas tank. The gas tank, if you have a bullet, an anti-craft bullet that gets there, you know what happens? Everything blows up. And they got hit right there, in the middle. But for some reason, a miracle happened. We even saw the picture of his crew from that plane. There's a picture after that. They landed, they even took a picture. They couldn't believe it. Nes Galui. The next morning, the pilot, his name is Bon Fox. The pilot decided to go to the crew chief to really see what happened in that gas tank. And he found inside a shell of about 20 millimeters. It's about probably this size. A shell that was inside the gas tank. And he asked the chief, can I keep it as a souvenir of this incredible miracle that happened to us? And the crew chief says, I don't think you understand what really happened here. You're talking about a miracle. I'm talking about 11 miracles. So what do you mean? He said, well, we actually took the aircraft after you guys landed, and we found inside the gas tank not just one bullet, not just one shell, 11. There were 11 inside. And one of them was enough to blow the whole plane. This is under investigation, so I cannot give it to you. We don't know exactly what the story is. It's something fishy. And Elmer Bendiner says, this was a nes, al gabe nes. Until today, every time he thinks about it, he just can't believe it. But the story doesn't end there. Because just a few days later, they sent the gas tank with the bullets, with the shells, to the armorers. And they realized that these bullets did not explode because they were empty. All of them. They were all empty. Except for one. One of them was not empty. There was something inside. There was a message. There was a tiny, tiny piece of paper inside the bullet. But they couldn't read it because it was written in Czech. So they looked for someone who could actually understand the language. And they got a person. And this is what the paper was saying inside those bullets. This is all we can do for you now. Using Jewish slave labor is never a good idea. You understand what happened? Those bullets, they were manufactured by Jews. And they knew that the Nazis would use them against their enemies. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So those Jews decided, Ishtadut, we'll try. We'll try to do something. And they saved someone's life. They didn't realize. Look how Borei Olam manipulates and controls everything in life. Think about those poor people in the worst situation, in the worst position, and they can think, you know what? Maybe Borei Olam is going to do something about it. We don't know. We just try. We just hope. We just believe. And he was right there. He was right there because they helped a Jew to be saved. 11 bullets. All of them were nothing. That's the true miracle. The true miracle is to find hope and to find faith in the darkest and the most obscure places where I feel there is no way out. And that is Tisha Be'av. In the midst of that fire, in the midst of destruction, I need to do that because I want you to find me. I want you to need me. I want you to look for me. That's what Borei Olam wants. This is not the unluckiest day of the year. This is not the worst mazal day of the year. This is a time that we put everything on the side and we try to focus on what is important in life, on how we make our life better. This year of 2020, the pandemic, the riots, anti-Semitism on the rise, the growing war in this country from the liberals, the upcoming election, all that. This is a year of Tisha Be'av. This is a year that we just get shock waves one after the other to say, hey, can you finally realize that you need me? Can you finally stop watching the news and be depressed and just look up instead and say, Borei Olam, I only have you. Do something. This is why 2020 is probably the best year for Tisha Be'av. This is why 2020 should be the last Tisha Be'av. That we finally get the message. That we finally understand what Borei Olam wants from us. And may the fire of destruction of the Beit HaMikdash can be transformed into a fire of joy, into a fire of revival, into a fire of excitement of Torah, mitzvot, tefillah, ma'asim tovim, into a fire of Ahavat Israel, of appreciating each other, of stopping fights with one another. And shenizke bimhera benechamat Zion bimhera v'yamenu amen ken yehi ratzon. I'm going to stop right now, and I'm going to give Rabbi Miller the floor of the Zoom. Rabbi Miller, are you here? I see you. Yes, I see you are here. Yes, okay, great. So I'm going to make you also co-host. Very good. This way you have control. You could, I don't think you are mute anymore, right? Okay, great.
Thank you.
I'm going to mute myself. And I'm going to turn the screen for everyone to be able to hear you.
Heard a beautiful